Hey guys, we're back. It's me, Tashi, aka the Positive Vibe Enthusiast, and tonight we have just the two of us, just me and Chief, and we do have a special guest for you guys. But before we get to the special guest, I like to ask Chief, how are you? Last week was a crazy episode,
It
and
was, but it was a good one. It was a good one.
it was a good one. I think we learned a lot of interesting things.
We did. I was very quiet. I was just listening. I'm like, wow.
Yes.
I was like that's her lifestyle and everything. Like, that's just amazing. I was intrigued.
Yes, and I can appreciate how open she was too.
Exactly. I love that about her.
Yeah, she definitely kept it 1,000. How's your weekend going? How's it been? How was your
Good.
weekend?
I was getting stuff done around the house, mowing and stuff like that, and enjoying semi nice weather.
Semi nice.
I mean, we got a little rain here and there. We got a little warm days here and there, but then again, it's Chicago. You're gonna get everything. We didn't get no snow, so it's cool.
That definitely makes sense with the word semi. So that definitely makes sense. And our special guest tonight, you guys, we had some craziness last week, but this week we're talking music. We talking real hip hop, and we have a very special guest, the one, the only, T1, the Lone Wolf. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me. I'm doing very well today. I'm enjoying myself. Again, like Chief was saying, I'm kind of at the crib. I'm, getting music done, getting things prepared for the future. Like, I'm enjoying myself right now.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, I mean, how's your weekend been going so far?
Oh man, my weekend has been busy. It's been very, very much so booked up. But I've actually had a lot of fun this weekend too. Like, I had a little time to actually enjoy myself. But with joy also comes work. So it's always back to the business.
Yeah, I know, right? I always call it the business is the matrix. So we got to jump in the matrix and jump out sometimes too.
Most definitely.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get started in music?
All right. So I've been doing music probably since I was a child, like 7 years old. So like back then it was like all about hip hop and things of that nature. So like I've always been into music and things like that. But I guess it all started with me listening to different family members who came before me. Like my dad, he used to always sing. And that was one thing I remember, like all my elders, my grandparents, my uncles, aunts, they all used to do singing. Cause I guess in their time during the 50s, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you had like bands and things like that. Everybody was like into the old singing and Motown and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So me, I'm more so into the hip hop, kind of switching over into the rap era. So I was doing my thing, they did theirs and I just found my own lane and I was like, hey, this is what I do. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. That's what's up. Besides, family inspiring you musically, what artists when you were young got you really into music?
Right, that's a good question. Ironically, I used to like Tupac. He was really one of my favorite artists back then, and I'm pretty well-rounded. Back then when I was a child, it was Tupac. Then you had Eminem, and then 50 Cent. But if I was to say right now where I'm at in my life, who is like the artist that inspires me the most, I would possibly say like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, people like them, more so lyricists. I also used to like back then, it's funny because I used to like Slick Rick the Ruler.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The way he tells stories in his raps. So it was like, now I'm kind of like doing the same thing for lack of better terms. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I did have the pleasure of listening to some of your music, and that's the one thing that stood out for me was definitely the lyricism, like you were saying, because besides having a great beat, for me, I am a little older, so I definitely want to hear what people have to say because you can't just be. I mean, I like Future to some degree, but just the saying Molly and Percocet all over like in the song and we selling this like we gotta be better. So,
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, with your music, do you consider yourself more so of a conscious rapper or
Most definitely. I'm most definitely a conscious rapper. I try to use see like I know a lot about like symbolism and some like how people use symbolic terms and things like that.
Hmm.
So in my music, I like to use a lot of symbolism or I like to use a lot of metaphors and things, but I still keep it very lyrical. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Because I be like I say, I grew up on it. So, yeah, that's my style.
So where are you from originally?
I'm actually originally from South Side of Chicago, born and raised in the Bronzeville area. Kind of grew
Okay.
up in like after like during my high school years, I kind of grew up in the Inglewood area. Yeah, so Chicago, that's my home.
So how you feel being from Chicago? Like, how you feel about Kanye? Is he still putting on the map for us, or do you feel like he
I
didn't?
mean, everybody, Kanye, Kanye is Kanye. You know what I'm saying? But we got to still show love for our brothers and sisters that's out here
Of
doing the thing.
course.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I don't have no hate. Like, hey, yo, yeah, Kanye most definitely putting Chicago on the map. Anytime you getting publicity, whether it's good or bad, hey, you know what I'm saying? Chicago's right there when it's Kanye. So, you
And
know,
like his song he put on.
yeah,
He put
right. He
on.
put
Yeah.
he most definitely put on. He most definitely put on. So it's like, if you come from like if you go to the south side of Chicago, like in the Lake Park area, High Park area, or even in the South Shore area, like people still talking about Kanye. He's not like
Oh
a
yeah.
little name, just like you still got people talking about Common. You know what I'm saying? We don't hear too
Yeah.
much about him in like the music industry, but in Chicago, we talk about these people. Common, Kanye. You got Lil Durk. You got Chief Keef. You got what's the other brother name? Bump J. Just different, just Twister. You got a lot of these
Yeah.
different names that put Chicago on the map, and they held down legendary positions like nobody's gonna be able to do what Twister did. Not too
Nope.
many people can
No.
do what Common did. Kanye, for all for all the infamy he gets, no one's doing what Kanye is doing. So yeah, they most definitely putting Chicago on the map.
Absolutely. For me, I kind of feel like I'm watching the evolution of Kanye, and I just kind of feel like there's always been a sense of, you can tell he's a religious person.
Yes.
And if we of course when we were young, you like when Jesus walks to follow God, like um it's been very interesting, his evolution. And I feel like his consciousness is rising, and we can kind of hear it in the music. So I
Exactly.
think that a lot of rappers like Big Sean, I feel like is another conscious rapper that you can kind of hear the positivity, and they're trying to tell people ways of, you know, I guess how to get themselves up, and you can manifest things for yourself. It's pretty interesting. Like, I've been listening to this music, and I feel like it's two different waves of rappers right now. It's like you got the club and the drill rap. I'm learning more about that because I did not know anything about drill rap. I had to go
Yeah.
educate myself. And and then you have the other rappers like that are on the more conscious level. Um, would you do you see yourself like collaborating with all type of rappers, or do you tend to like want to collaborate more with rappers that's on the same wavelength or vibe as you?
And to be honest, when you in the field of like basically let's just say art, because music is an art. So when you doing art, you don't want to limit yourself to one color. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to just limit yourself to red or just like black. You want to have a lot of different colors of the spectrum. So yeah, most definitely, I'm always open to deal with you or to do music with different types of artists.
That's what's up. So speaking with art, I like a lot of the shows. Like here in Houston, they have a lot of like music with actual art. I'm not sure if that's something that they do in Chicago. Like, is that something that they do in Chicago with the music and the art shows together?
Well, yeah, there has been instances where there have been situations where you have artists and people doing art and things of that nature. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's all a part of art. So in Chicago, you can get that from anywhere from a play to like real performances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So with your music, I know Chief was telling me you had some shows coming up, or like what's the last show or the shows that's coming up that you can tell us about?
Oh man, all right. So yeah, I like that's one of the reasons why it's like crazy because you're like, yo, how your weekend been? It's been crazy. Okay, so in Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, I actually be doing a Tried by Fire concert, and I be out with a lot of different artists. If you all don't know, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, so a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
my music, right? I'm a Hebrew Israelite, so a lot of my music is like Israelite based music, but like I'm not the traditional Israelite artist. Like a lot of my music, because I do have history in music. Like a lot of my music, like whereas people would come up with rap and things like that and their journey is more so their journey. I'm kind of like mixing the old me with the new me. You see what I'm saying? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like
Okay.
it's almost like when Tupac was with Digital Underground, he had that style, but then when he,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, but then when he got with Death Row, he had that style. You see what I'm saying? And if he wasn't here this day, I could see him being like if he was to like elevate to a like a higher level, he could probably mix the two and make his whole like his own lane. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just like trying to make my own lane with the rap, the lyricism, and then like kind of like my experiences from the past all the way to today and my growth. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, going back to the concerts, like I got a Script Gang Tried by Fire concert out in Fort Worth, Texas. That'll be June 17th. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying? I'm gonna
I'm
be
gonna come up. I'm right here in Houston, so I'm gonna have to
that's
pull up and
dope.
check you
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
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 Most definitely, like it's gonna be so many different artists there. Like you got a lot of big names in the Israelite community. Like you got Zakaria, you got Peasy, you got Cole Rain the Hebrew, and then you got like people like myself, Free Brew, IBL. You know what I'm saying? We got a DJ like one of the biggest names in the Israelite community, DJ Judah. So it's like it's a big event, bro. Like it's
That's
dope.
awesome.
Yeah,
I
and then like
definitely
so
am
that's
coming.
in June. That's just in June. But yeah, nah. So the name of my group is Fringe Gang Blue Ribbon Army. And we have our own thing that we do. So in July, on July 3rd, we'll be having something called the Black Carpet event. And we're also gonna have artists out. And it's kind of like the red carpet where people are getting trophies and just cameras and videography and things like that, live performances and all that. So I've just been getting ready for that. Also, we'll have like a lot of vendors coming out from small businesses and things like that. People trying to like network and things of that nature. I'm most definitely doing that also July 3rd, and that'll be out here in the Chicago area.
Oh,
That's
that's
gonna be
nice. So
awesome. Yep.
you definitely traveling. That's what's up. I will definitely be in Fort Worth. That's nothing but a hop, skip, and a jump, as they say down here. So I'll
Oh, you
definitely
about to
come
love
out.
it. You're gonna love it.
You know, you talked about being a Hebrew Israelite, and can you tell us a little bit more about that? Were you always a part of that, or is that something that you said an old you versus the new you? So is there something that switched that made you uh, become an Israelite?
Well, yes, actually, it is. Like when I growing up, I grew up in like I say, the Bronzeville area. I come from the projects. I'm from Ida B. Wells. It's no longer there. So that was where I grew up in the projects, Ida B. Wells. So me growing up, I've always been taught a certain way. Like my family has always grown up to grow. Well, my family grew up Christian, Baptist Christian, and then we also had Catholics. So
Mm-hmm.
I've always been, for lack of better terms, I've always had knowledge of the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I guess later on in life, had a baby very young. I was 20 years old. My wife, now she's my wife. She was 19. A year later, we ended up getting married. Here I am, 21. I'm trying to change like just different habits, right? Because
Yeah.
as we grow up and like being in the environment that we are in, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, some of us grow accustomed to the situations that happen around us, and then we fall in line with those situations. Well, I've always been the type of person who I was like, you know what, I see my situation. How do I overcome this? You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there have been instances where I have like fell in line, but then it was like a point in my life, especially when I had my daughter, I was like, yo, it's time for me to grow. And a lot of people don't understand, like when you like a lot of people think that they know themselves or they think that they know what's to come for them, but like really a lot of us are lost. You see what I'm saying?
Most
Mm-hmm.
So I
definitely.
had
Yeah.
yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So it's like, And to be honest, in the world that we live in, with us being lost, a lot of us, whether we know it or not, we have leaders. So that means that we are followers. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I do, and that even goes for myself. I've had people that I look up to, like you have the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's, you have like the Kanyes or the Lil Waynes or things like that. I have leaders that I looked up to when I was younger, but now I'm kind of like more so awoken to who I am. So me being a Hebrew Israelite, a lot of people look at that as, oh, he switched religion, but it's not a religion. That's actually a nationality. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you go talk to someone from China, you can't say, oh, he's Chinese, that's his religion. No, that's his culture, that's his background, that's his nationality. You see what I'm saying? Israel is a real place, and to be an Israelite is a real thing. You see what I'm saying?
So what is it to be an Israelite? Because everyone's not really educated on that. Especially because I'm from the Chicagoland area, and being Black, I didn't grow up in the projects, but when you say Christian Baptist, I feel like that's what a lot of us grew up as, and especially with being Catholic as well.
Mm-hmm.
What what is the major difference for you? I guess would
All right,
be my
so
question.
and that's a great question. That's actually a very good question. The difference for me is, okay, it's the knowledge. Just like a lot of people in the Israelite community, or like even in the Black community, we call it or even in the Hispanic community,
Yeah.
we call it being woke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is not necessarily that you're awake in it because you were asleep. It's just more so that you are not lost anymore, but now you're found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is, okay, what is the difference for me? When me growing up, being in the church, me learning of the Bible and things like that, it was certain things in the Bible that I learned, and it was certain things that I wasn't really, like, I didn't understand, right? Because a lot of people, we read the Bible, it's certain things we don't understand, and certain things that we may be like, oh man, I hear that, but it ain't really fitting in. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was able to actually sit back and read the Bible and like learn the different things that I've learned, just reading from myself, not allowing myself to have a leader, someone who was teaching me and things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
I learned just for myself, and even just like, all right, so now look, even with me learning through the Bible, I also had to look up throughout history, right? Because
Yeah.
there are certain things in history that our people don't know. So when we grow up in these schools, like I grew up in a public school, and I was taught about Black history and about slavery and things like that. But if you go before slavery in school, it's like Black people started off on a boat, and that don't make sense to me. We had to have came from somewhere. We didn't just get on a boat in slavery and then end up in the so-called America or all around the world, because you got Black people all around the world.
Yeah.
So then they say, well, you came from Africa. All right, well, where at in Africa? Because if you look in Africa, Africa has so many different countries in it. You can't just call a person African. You see what I'm saying?
That's true. That
If
yes.
you if you go to Egypt, the people in Egypt ain't calling themselves African. They say we're Egyptian.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go like countries over and you go to Nigeria, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we just like the Egyptians. No, they're gonna say we Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me back to me being in America. Okay, so I'm a Black man, all right. But if I look at Black is nowhere on the world map. It's nowhere on the world map. So Black is just a color. So now I'm trying to find out who my nationality is because I'm lost. I'm asleep to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where did I come from? The Bible says, if you read Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it said that the Israelites will go into slavery upon ships. There's no other nation of people that I know have came on into slavery on ships per se, other than the so-called Black man and the so-called Black woman. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now when we look at that, we say, okay, well, that matches what we got going on, but that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We need to go dig deeper. So as I learned more about, as I learned more about that Bible, I started looking at the Bible as a history book and not a religious book.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at history books, you learn, like, let's say we read the American history book. You're going to learn about different presidents. You're going to learn about the different foods of the Western civilization. You're going to learn about the clothing, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
the same way you go to China and you read about the food that they eat, the clothing that they wear. In America, people was wearing cowboy hats and riding horses. in China, they was probably wearing kimonos and, you know, riding on whatever they was riding. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you go to Israel, they out there riding camels with you know, with bandanas and stuff on the top of their head. So these are just different cultural things that's going on in the history book. Now, if you read the Bible also talks about history. It talks about the different leaders. It talks about different wars, different types of food that people ate, and just, you know, just different things like that. And when I look at the different things in the Bible that I've read, you know, a lot of those things match the things that happen to my people. So when people ask me how do you know that you're an Israelite, and you know that you're not black or whatever, I challenge people. If I ask you a question, I say, where does a German come from? What would you say?
Germany.
Exactly. If I ask you, where does a Russian come from? You'll say Russia.
Russia.
It's in the name. Germany, German, Russia, Russian, Chinese, China, right? So now I ask you, where do black come from? You can't answer that.
Yeah.
If I ask you where, if I ask you, where does African American come from? You can't say, because Africa is a continent, not a country. America is actually two continents. You have a South America and a North America. So if I'm African American, then that means I came from the world. That don't make sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have to actually dig deep, and we have to actually see where we fit in with certain things. You know what I'm saying? So I look at a lot of the things that happened to the so-called Israelites in the Bible, and I look at the things that have happened to my people, and I read these different scriptures, and I learn. Just like I don't know if you all know about gentrification or whitewashing, but like if you read the Bible, you'll learn that, you know, the so-called Jesus Christ, he wasn't like a white man on a cross and had blue eyes and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
No, nothing wrong.
Like if we was to look at, like, if you look at Queen Elizabeth, if they turned her into a black woman, right, then she ain't the Queen of England. You see what I'm saying? She's no longer the Queen of England. Now we look at Jesus Christ. He's supposed to be the so-called king of all the Israelites, but he's been changed. Why is that? It's all due to whitewashing. You see what I'm saying? It's like a whole different level to being woke. You know what I'm saying? So when you ask me, what is it like to be an Israelite? It's finally leaving the bondage of religion and understanding myself and the power that I have within myself.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I've had my own evolution with things. I grew up a little different. I didn't really grow up. My mother grew up very religious, but she made it a point for us to find our own relationship with God and decide if we wanted to join. She actually encouraged to learn many different religions if that's the way you want to go, and is in your relationship with God or whatever you want to call it should be, you know, that's personal.
And then me, I was raised Catholic, but I found upon myself, because I was always interested why this, why that. So I branched out to everywhere, and I think that's how me and Tone met a lot of times. We talked about different things, and he got me more woke into different things. So it's like, because there's got to be more than just what's been told.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
I agree. And I guess my question was, having, you know, children and a wife of your own, is this something that you're teaching your daughter more about the, you know, being an Israelite and understanding, you know, where her lineages come from?
Actually, yes, I do. It's like, you know, for me, I'm excited. I was excited when I first found out, or when I first came to the understanding that I was an Israelite. It's almost like when you look at ancestry.com and you give them this stuff and they give you these results, and you be like, oh man, I found out I got this in me. You're excited about that, right? So when I found out that I'm no longer the color of a crayon, black, I'm not just some black person, right? When I found that out, I was like, man, hold on, wait, I'm an Israelite. And then it was like, okay, well, if I'm an Israelite, what is it that Israelites do? That was my first question. What do they do? Because like, if you go to China, you know, they go out, they eat octopus and squid and shrimp and things like that. They know karate, they wear kimonos, they got all these different cultural things. Like their holidays is different from the holidays in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you learn about being an Israelite, you learn that it's different. We call them holy days, but it's different holidays that Israelites celebrate compared to what we celebrate in other countries. You see what I'm saying? The same way Hispanics celebrate in Mexico, they celebrate different holidays than what they would celebrate, I guess, in America. You see what I'm saying? So it's like me learning these things. Yes, that's what I have to give to my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Other than telling her, oh, you're black, you're African American, something that don't make sense. I have something that I can actually say that's a solid foundation that I can give her, and I can actually give her some culture behind that. You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And did you receive any backlash on that? Because I know a lot of times, and I hate to say it, I feel like
actually I did. It's funny that you say that. Yeah, I most definitely did. I know where you're going with it. And I hate to cut you off. It's funny that you say that. I most definitely did get backlash. A lot of people, when they don't understand things, they come up with assumptions and things of that nature. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I have gotten backlash. I have had people tell me. I had a family member told me I was Jim Jones,
wow.
and I'm serving out Kool-Aid. You see what I'm saying? So and I've never had no following like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just when people don't understand things, we tend to attack.
Yeah.
We don't like change. Ideally, people don't like change. We always say we won't change, but when change comes, it's a shock for us. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we most definitely get backlash. And then the other thing about it is, our people in general, just in the human race, we have a lot of prejudice that we don't recognize that we have. So like you'll have let's say, for lack of better terms, you'll have a black man do something, and then they put that on the news. Now you got every other race thinking, all right, this is the way the black man is. But the same way how you have Hispanics, they say, oh, all Hispanics is in cartels, or all white people do suicide, all white people do mass murderings, or all white people is in the KKK. It's always some type of thing. When you don't have an understanding, we attack these things, or we like to try to group things together. When the whole thing about it is, you have good people and you have bad people. Period. Period. It doesn't matter what your nationality is. But a lot of times when people hear Hebrew Israelite, they look at it as a religion. It's a nationality. You see what I'm saying? It's even like when you go to work, or you looking for a job, you you sign an application. They give you three or four, they ask you, what's your race? And they give you about 3 or 4 different options. One of them is, are you black with African descent or African American? Are you do you have Hispanic descent? Or then they ask you, are you Caucasian? So now if we wanted to know what is Caucasian, what is Caucasian? What is that? Who would be considered Caucasian?
Yeah,
that would be
white people.
That's white people, right?
Yeah.
So if white people are Caucasian, why do we call them American, or why do we call them white? That's not what their nationality is. So now the question is, if they got it on this job application, where does Caucasian come from? It's got to be a place, right? It's got to be a place.
Yeah, and for me, like, the bigger conversation is, why does any of that matter? Why are we collecting?
It really shouldn't. It really shouldn't.
No.
It's all about cultural differences. You see what I'm saying? It's all about cultural differences. Again, when we don't understand something, we attack it. When you got Arabs coming out here to America, right? A lot of people look at them. They can have a bag on them. People gonna run. Oh, he gets suicide bomber. Yeah. I done seen people who were from Yemen, and they look a lot like the people from Israel or whatever, or these Arabs, and they get attacked for the way that they look, because people don't understand cultural difference. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's no different. It's no different for the so-called Hebrew Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Like, yes, I'm expecting people to attack me, but the truth of the fact of the matter is, I was being judged just for being black. You see what I'm saying? I've literally walked to the gas station to go get me maybe a Polar Pop or something, and as I'm walking past people's cars, they rolling up windows and locking doors. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm happy that you locking the door. It's COVID out here. So, it's all about your perception of things. And it took me to literally have to, I literally had to kind of like, for lack of better terms, I had to like reboot. I had to restart my brain. Everything that I was taught, or everything that people involved me in, and things of that nature,
Try to
I
teach
had
you,
to
yeah.
I had to relearn. I had to just like
Mm-hmm.
literally erase all that and say, okay, let me start from ground one. And that's the hardest thing to do. And then when you start from ground one and you learn yourself and you actually, become stable, right? You
Mm-hmm.
become stable. That's when the attacks come in. So it's like, all right, now we're gonna test your foundation.
Yep.
So as a man in this world, men and women, we already go
Mm-hmm.
through our challenges as it is. So like you being a woman, I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of different attacks on you. You
Oh,
may have a
absolutely.
brother or somebody that try to holler at you, then you don't want to indulge in that because you don't want to be looked at as fast or easy. But then
Yeah.
now, because you didn't fall in line with what they wanted, that's strange to them. So now they
Mm-hmm.
attack you. But you
Yeah.
really just really, building the foundation of the woman that you really want to be. You don't want to be the one that's out here that's easy, that's looked at as somebody who can be, tried and thrown away.
Yeah.
So it's
It
just,
is. It's definitely hard when you make like any change, and I feel like when you make changes, like you said, you get the backlash. And I guess
yep.
for you, since you definitely have to be of a certain age to have lived in the projects, because those projects are no longer here. I guess for my question is, what age was the shift for you?
For
What
me,
was it? Was it in your 20s?
it was most definitely in my 20s. It took me to be probably 22. I want to say I was 22 because my daughter, she was 1 when I got married. So yeah, about 22. That's when I started to actually learn. So if you really want to be like totally accurate, I would say probably 24, because it took me a few years to just learn and really just to embrace and to get the understanding of what it was that I was really learning. And then I even went and got second opinions because I'm like, man, maybe I might not be right. But
Mm.
just talking to like I talked to a lot of different people who recognize themselves. Like I started looking, like how you go on Google and you be like, find Israelites, Hebrew Israelites. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was literally I was literally going on Google to try to find other people who came to this conclusion, because it was like to a point where when I figured it out for myself, it was like, hold on, wait. I started dang near criticizing myself, like, bro, you going crazy. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? But it was like when you go into history and when you really research the stuff that you read for yourself, like your eyes get open to a lot of different things. You see what I'm saying? So I started doing that. Then when people was telling me like I was Jim Jones and I'm joining a code and I'm this and that, I started talking to different religious leaders that I looked up to, like my pastor. My granddad, he was a pastor. I looked
Mm-hmm.
up to a lot of different people. I looked up to the Catholic, like to a couple of the fathers from the Catholic churches.
Mm-hmm.
And I would question them about just different scriptures in the Bible. And the craziest thing is when you look at a person, when you're looking at a person face to face and you get to look them square in their eye and you can
Mm-hmm.
see the reaction on their face. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing that made me look, and I said, okay, something ain't right. Something is not right, and I need to get down to the bottom of this. So for lack of better terms, I kind of got a little bit engrossed. I was like a little bit I was going fanatic about it. Like
Yeah.
I gotta
Mm-hmm.
find it out. I gotta find this out.
Oh
So
yeah, most definitely. I didn't go in depth like that, but in the same way, I was like exploring stuff like that too. I'm like, okay, well, why is this? I asked this, and I'm like, I'm getting those different looks and then like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I want to find out more.
right,
It's almost
right.
like you shouldn't be asking these questions. I'm like, why not?
Yeah. That's that is the big red flag
Mm-hmm.
when someone is irritated by a question,
Yep.
or blindly going along with anything. Like, let's have that conversation. Like, as an adult, I don't think there's any situation where you should blindly just follow any man outside of yourself. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you should
But
always question,
Oh, of course.
you
of
know.
course, of course.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting.
we do that. That's just something that we do, and that's just something that's been went down throughout the generations. Like I'm pretty sure if you like you say yourself, Tasha, you say your mother, she grew up religious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even you, Chief, you say
Yeah.
you grew up religious. I grew up religious. But it comes to the point where, like, all right, so who taught you to be religious? All right, your parents. Who taught them to be religious? Their
Yeah.
parents. Who taught them to be? And it just keeps going on and going on. So that's something that keeps going on, but you don't see a change. That's insanity right there.
Yep.
So when
Yep.
Expecting
you
outcome.
finally break and so when you finally break the chains of insanity, that's when you come to the realization, like, oh snap, I've been being crazy this whole time. So when you talk to the so-called crazies, right, you tell them, look, we practicing insanity. They say, no, you the one that's insanity. You the one doing different.
Mm-hmm.
But like I told my dad was he's very influential in my life. And he hasn't always been there, but he's been very influential in my life. And one thing that I can say is when I finally came into the realization that I was an Israelite, he attacked me. And he told me, he said, you need to go and talk to the pastors about what it is that's going on. I said, I've talked to them, Dad. I've done all of that. And he says, well, you don't have the right understanding. And I said, well, what makes you think I don't have the right understanding, Dad? He said, because those are questions you ask, and why would you even ask that question? Why would you ask the question on whether this is right or this is wrong? I said, why not ask the question,
Exactly.
Dad?
Mm-hmm.
Why not ask the question? So now
Mm-hmm.
here it is, me and him having our argument, and I asked him, I totally asked him, I said, listen, Dad, did you not require me to graduate out of high school on time? He says, yes. I said, when I ended up having my baby while I was in college, did you not tell me I needed to take care of my child, finish up my 2 years, and then go into trade school or something? He said, yes. I said, and I did all these things. I did all these things, correct? And he said, yes. I said, so why is it that you think that when I read certain books or when I ask certain questions that I'm not asking intelligent questions?
Mm-hmm.
He stopped and he thought about it. I said, listen, do you think that I would do, because my dad even thought I was in a cult. I said, do you think that I would do something to hurt you? He said, no, I know you love me and I love you. We love each other to death. I
Mm-hmm.
said, so why is it that you trust this man who we call a pastor or a priest or a preacher? Why do you trust him more than the son that came? I was floating inside of you. Why would you trust him more than you trust me? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And this
you
is
have
the
to think
thing.
about it.
You have to think about things like that. We literally, I've watched on the news how you have different people in the Catholic community, right? In this religion, and you got people who are like, let's say, I'm not going to say the Pope, but I'll just say these are people are in high positions. And we come to find out these people are sexually harassing children and doing all these things. You got pastors doing these things. You got all these things going on. And then we're confused like, wait, I trusted him. He baptized my baby. This one did that. How was he out here touching kids and doing? Because you're trusting a stranger at the end of the day. Period.
You got
You're
to ask.
trusting a stranger.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but you got to ask those questions. You got to be the explorer. You be like, okay, why am I found this person?
Yeah.
And then I don't think that's what some people don't do. They just go with it and go with it. And
Yeah.
Me, I was always like, well, why? I got to find out why. Why? Okay, give me the answer. Okay, cool. But I got to find out why.
But to be honest, why is the most dangerous question that a person can ask?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And the reason why I say that is because the question why, just that word alone has changed so many things. If you look at like, let's just say for like today, you look at women's rights and things of that nature, and we go back all the way into back in, like, let's say 10 years ago, right? Let's just say just 10 years ago, or maybe let's say 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was certain rights that women didn't have. You see what I'm saying? There was certain ways or treatment that women got that men didn't get. Okay. And when you ask the question, well, why? Why is this? Well, that makes changes. Now here it is. We have women that's in positions of power just in America or in other countries. You have women that's getting the same jobs that men are getting. You got a lot of these different things. These rights are starting to come. The same thing, like when you look at the legal system. Why is it that this person gets judged this way and this person gets this
Exactly.
type of judgment? Why is it that why is it that we want to have a problem when I guess, let's say for instance, the situation with building this so-called wall and trying to keep the border up and this and this and that, and putting people in these concentration camps and things like that. Why are we doing these things? Why is it that you have people out here that have food that they waste, but we have people that's in America alone that's starving? Why
Exactly.
is that?
Yeah, that's a big one for me. That's actually just disgusting with the food situation because, especially in America, there no one should be hungry, and
No,
the
no
legal
one should.
liability. Like even if you have a restaurant, for instance, and let's say I bake bread every day fresh, and at the end of the day, I want to give away my day old bread. There are I would have problems with my insurance and different. It's pretty much I can lose my insurance. Like if someone eats my day old bread that I gave away and gets sick, then it's a liability on me. So
Yep,
they just throw all this stuff away because of these stupid
Oh yeah.
legalities. And I'm just
exactly.
like, it's a shame. And to me, the loophole is how about we just have people sign a waiver? If you eat this bread and get sick, hey, we hold us harmless. But
Yeah,
it's
most
it's
definitely.
really disgusting to me that people are hungry in America. Like the amount of food that is wasted, and even me, like even buying vegetables, they may go bad too quick, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like wasting food. I really don't
Yeah.
like doing that.
Same.
Yeah.
I really I look at a lot of things though. I look at not only the fact that you got people like all right, so you got the working man and the working woman. We our taxes and the different ways that we are taxed goes towards people who get government assistance.
Yes.
Okay, and then like we go back to the situation where you have you know people that's hungry. All right, we got these different laws in place to keep us from feeding these people, but then we could send billions and billions and billions of dollars out the country to other people to go start or to go keep wars going or to
Mm-hmm.
do different things. Like I mean, like we got to ask questions of why. Why is the biggest question? Why is this okay? Why is this happening? You know what I'm saying? And when we ask those questions and can you imagine? And like I remember my daughter, she came to me when she was a baby. She's 13 now, 14 now. And when she was a baby, she was like, how did I get here? I said, God gave you to me and your mama. And she says, well, why? And I said, cause he love you. Why? I'm like, oh my goodness, she about to keep asking why. And I got to really get down to the nitty gritty of it. And if we got down to the real nitty gritty of it, I really don't know the answers to why. It's just something that I'm doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
now here it is. She asked me, how did I get into the world when she gets older? Because she remembers everything that I told her when she was young. And she done went to school and she done learned about, let's just, sex education and things of
Right.
that nature. So now she says, how did I get into the world? I'm like, baby, you already know that. Well, you told me. And I'm like, yeah, I know what I told you. Well, why did you tell me that? I said, because I felt like you was too young. Or, well, why did you feel like I was too young? So,
Hmm.
these are questions we really need to ask about a lot of different things. You know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying? We really do.
Well, I mean, this conversation got real deep. We even went on the tangents of why, but I like these conversations. I live for philosophical conversations like this because for me, I came to the realization that I think there's layers to things. And we were talking earlier about, people in power, the pastors, and, some of the priests, unfortunately, doing harm to children. I think I think people can be good and evil at the same time, to be honest. I think that people are like kind of like onions, you know. Sometimes they're sweet and they really can add to a dish, and sometimes it can overpower it and just be pungent. I realized that there's people that will do certain crimes, but certain things are off limits to them. Like you may have a person that will rob, but maybe they will never rob a woman or a child. Like it's like people have
Exactly.
different
Mm-hmm.
layers to them. So I personally have come to a realization that I'm just not going to judge this situation. I just kind of feel like um, everybody everybody has their story why they do things. You know what I mean? Like I think it's interesting because I did not know that. I've heard of Hebrew Israelites, and I did not know that it wasn't a religion. That it sounds more of a way of life or a thought process, kind of like
It is. It
Buddhism
is.
and things of that nature. So I definitely like the insight on that one. Are there any rules like with women? Like how is it being a wife of a Hebrew Israelite.
That it's funny. It's funny that you say that. I'm happy you asked that. That's another thing that Israelites get I guess ridiculed for. They feel like as if men are allowed to do these things and women have no power and have no say so, and like their life is really just as like an item or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case. Actually, to be honest, when you look, and again, it's like I'm really talking the Bible, but it's really a lifestyle. All right, so the Bible says that the man is the head of every household, and ideally, most women that's not homosexual, most women when they have a husband, they want a man that's going to be the head of the house. They want a man that's going to provide. They want a man that's going to protect them, that's going to keep them secure, that's going to make sure that his responsibilities are handled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be an Israelite, that's what your duty is. Your duty is to love your wife the same way the so-called Jesus Christ loved his people. He died for his people. He didn't hurt them. He gave bread. You know what I'm saying? He partied with them. He enjoyed them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the husband's job. His job is to enjoy his wife, to protect her, to feed her, and to clothe her, to make sure she's taken care of. The same way it's the wife's job to make sure the children are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the women, like I look at like in my lifestyle before I came to this awakening, I've watched how men back in the day, if they call women the B word, the whole world blew up because that man called that woman a B.
Yeah.
Now here it is. We got today, you have women, they walk around freely with each other. Oh, B, let me tell you what happened. Right?
Yeah.
So ideally we say, well, that's just a term of endearment. All right, cool. Well, in the Israelite culture, we don't call our women B. We call them queens and princesses. You see what I'm saying? We call them actual wives. It's the brothers in like back in when I was just being just regular old black. It used to be a time where nigga was a derogatory word. I don't know if I could say that word out here, but I'm gonna just say the N bomb.
It's been said.
Okay, so the N bomb that's been dropped and the whole world blew up. Yeah. But now here it is. You got today everybody calling each other the N bomb.
Because we're letting it be comfortable. We're letting it be comfortable, and you should not let that be comfortable.
It should not be comfortable. That's just no different.
Exactly.
If I called like we get upset about these things, but if we make it okay,
it'll be okay.
That doesn't change.
Make it okay.
Right. It doesn't make it okay. It just means you accept it.
Exactly.
So it's not something that's accepted in the community. Now, does that mean that there are Israelites that do wrong to their wives? Of course there are. The same way how you got Mexicans, you got good Mexicans that's doing right by their wives. You got Mexicans that's doing wrong. You got white people that does right. You got white people that do wrong. You got Chinese people that's doing right and doing wrong. So Israelite is a nationality. That's just me saying that's what my culture is. So yeah, it is bad ones and it is good ones. The only thing about I guess the difference between being an Israelite and being just any old so-called black person is knowing that black is not your nationality, because black ain't nowhere on the map. Even Caucasian is on the map, whether people know it or not. If you go, if you look up the Caucasus, the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasian, Caucasus.
And we talked about
Mexican,
that before, yeah.
Mexico, Russia, Russian. It just goes back into the story of why would you call me black in the first place? Why would I be African American? How is that possible?
They kept changing our terms over the years too, because
that's what you got. You got to look. When we first came out, we was monkeys. Then we was coons. Then we was the N bomb. Then we was black. Yeah. We were coloreds. We were Afro Americans because people had afros. Now we African Americans. Now we Africanus Americanus. Come on, man.
Yeah.
How many times am I? So that means I'm lost. That means I'm asleep. That means I don't know. So coming into this awakening, I was very excited, and I go full hard. Just like how when Cinco de Mayo come and you see all the Hispanics running around, or you see St. Patrick's Day and all the Irish people coming running around, or you see the Year of the Dragon and all the Chinese people flipping and doing all that. When Israelite holidays come around, I'm flipping and I'm enjoying my culture. The same way how you see people out there speaking Spanish and all these other French. Italian.
Mm-hmm.
I try to do my best to learn Hebrew. So, you know, it's like you say, it's a way of life. It's a conscious decision that I've made, and it's something that I can give my children. You know,
Was it hard for your, like, were, now this is something that you came to, was your wife, this is something that she went, like, she was, she, I guess, open to it too, or did you guys experience this together, I guess, like, I
to
guess.
if I was to be, if I'm being totally honest with you, my wife jumped into this before me because
Oh.
I had a lot of skepticism. You got to understand, I grew up in a family that was very religious. My granddad was a pastor. I grew up with a pastor. My pastor married me and my wife. So
Mm.
when she came to me with the understanding that, like, yo, hey, yo, you know, like, she was like, yo, I want you to read this Bible. Tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why are you even why are you even looking at it that way? She's like, but nah, look, we look at the Bible and say it's real, right? So it's got to make sense. If this Bible is real, it's got to be somewhere in history, or it's got to be some type of realization to it that we can see. And when she said it to me like that, I said, all right, let me start reading it for myself. And I started reading the different things that was going on with the people of that Bible. And I said, if these people are real, they have to be somewhere on this planet. This ain't like on Mars. You see what I'm saying? These
Mm-hmm.
people have to actually exist. Who are these people? So that's when you start realizing, oh, it's a puzzle to this. I got to get all the pieces to it. And when I start seeing the picture,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not to cut you off or anything, but I've seen that myself. It's like, even like I've talked to Tom one on one personally. When I tell him, okay, well, there's different parts of the Bibles. There's different Bibles. Where's the other ones? They cut different things out of different Bibles. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so some of this might be man tweaked. Why? There's something they don't want us to know, or you got to find all, like you said, the puzzles. You got to put them all
Right.
together.
That's right. And go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think that the why is also is this different people agendas. You know, if I have an agenda to keep people enslaved, I have to somehow tweak this to make them believe that this is their godly duty. That, you know,
Exactly.
like, you have these different agendas that people have. So that's what I think too.
No,
They're
it's
trying.
that, and that's absolutely the truth. If you actually look at
Mm-hmm.
the history outside of the Bible, right? That's why I say this is bigger than just looking at the Bible and saying, "Oh, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
100%." I'm literally going into history things, and then I can relate it to different things that have happened in the Bible. You see what I'm saying? That's what made me more so woke. It wasn't just reading the Bible and then being like, "Oh, that's what it is." No, I literally researched it because I wanted to see if this was all a lie. Period. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like when you learn different things, like if you really look at the history on why was certain books was taken out of the Bible, or why it is that
Mm-hmm.
certain, like, different names was changed in the Bible, it was all because of the simple fact that that's how we ended up coming into the different forms of government in the Roman Catholics. You see what I'm saying? The Roman Catholics started the religion. And what ended up happening is after they started taking books out of the Bible, people wasn't, and it wasn't even it wasn't considered the Bible back then. It was just a history book for the Israelites. But what ended up happening was
Yeah.
after the Roman Catholics took these different books out, they decided that how do we get these people, how do we make these people believe in what it is that we're now saying? How do we get them people to understand that this is now the new names, the new color of these people, the new way these people have to move, because these people know what it is. That's just like if you read Dr. Seuss and I say one fish, two fish, what do you say?
Three fish.
You say red fish, blue fish.
Oh no, I'm not going in like three fish. So.
It's a Dr. Seuss book. All right, so all right, that was a fail, but I'm just saying what I'm trying to say is
But I get what you mean.
if you know the absolute Dr. Seuss book, right? If you know what Dr. Seuss is talking about, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, you know that. So if
Yeah.
somebody take that out and say, all right, four fish, 10 fish, purple fish, yellow fish, something ain't right. That don't make
Mhm.
sense. That ain't how it normally was.
Where's the rest of the puzzle?
Where's the
Where's the
rest of
rest
the
of the
puzzle?
book?
So now the Roman
Mhm.
Catholics took these books out and then decided they was going to create something called the Crusades. And these people who were Roman Templars, they would go out and they would tell you that you had to believe in the name Jesus Christ. And if you didn't believe in it, then they would kill you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, y'all went through the hassle of taking these books out. You changed the different names. And not only did you do that, but you formed a military to kill people who didn't fall in line with it. So now here it is, dude. This is going on from the 1700s. Now here it is, we, all the way in the 2000s. And people are just, like I say, how did you become a Christian? My mom. Who told her? Her mom, her mom, her mom, her. Why did it happen that way? How did it even start that way? This is why.
Everyone fell in line.
No, people did not want to lose their life back then, so they
all
had
under
to lose their
duress.
children.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and anything signed under duress is what? Void. So it's
void.
Yeah, so people really do need to ask why and do their own research. I guess my question is, what books have you read besides the Bible that you would tell people that are interested in learning more about not just like Israelites, but just
people in general? People in general, because really to be an Israelite, it just shows that, like I say, it's your nationality, but you learn that the Bible is really your history. So my thing is, anybody that's in a religion or anybody that's considered themselves any nationality, I don't care what it is, if you read that Bible, a lot of things that I'm learning that today, a lot of our people in the world and society, period, they're starting to look at the Bible and they like, no, something ain't adding up. This ain't right. I don't believe in it. There's a reason for that. It's just like you said, anything under duress is void. These people are waking up to understand that it's a lot of things that's being void. And it's not the things that's in the Bible that's being taught. I mean, it's not the things that's in the Bible that's being written. It's the things that's in the Bible that the people that's empowered, they're teaching. You see what I'm saying? If I read the Bible and I teach you that Jesus Christ is a so-called, the so-called white man with the blue eyes and the blonde hair, when you read the Bible, it says that he had hair like wool and feet like bronze. Something ain't adding up.
Yeah.
Something ain't adding up. So now, because I allowed you to teach me, I say, you know what? The whole thing is a lie. Instead of looking back and saying, read the Bible, let me read the Bible for myself. That's what I ended up doing. I ended up saying, you know what? Let me read the Bible for myself. And let me see if I can relate it to anything that's real on this planet. You see what I'm saying? So if there was something that I had to tell any person, regardless of whether they was an Israelite or not, or regardless of whether they was religious or spiritual, I would tell them, read the Bible and then go into the Apocrypha, which is a Bible that has been taken out of the Bible, or a part of the Bible that has been taken out. I would tell them to read the books of Enoch and different things of that nature. And they would get, like, between the book of Enoch and the Apocrypha, you most definitely want to read the Apocrypha over everything. Because that Apocrypha will give you a lot of understanding on things that was like you'll look at it and you'll hear the different stories and the different things that's going on. You'll be like, yo, you might even look and say, yep, that's me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of different personalities in there. You see what I'm saying? There's so many different things that you can learn from your elders. And it's our elders, well, it's the Israelites elders who wrote these books. That's just like when if you had a mother and a father and they decided they wanted to write down a journal or a diary. When your great grandkids get to that diary, they're gonna be like, man, that remind me of my kid. It's almost in the same spirit. You know what I'm saying? The same
it's
personality.
So funny you talk about that, because I've been journaling my whole life, and I started keeping them because I kind of feel like our parents sometimes, as they get older, they don't keep it 100 with some of the adversities and things that you go through.
That's the truth.
So I decided, I've been keeping these. I don't have any children, but I have nieces. I have a godson. I have honorary nephews and things of that nature. And these books or these journals that I have I keep them because I want them to read them. Of course, you have my cell phone, because I feel like when we die, people are going to want your cell phone because your whole life is in your cell phone. But I still old school. I write. And then I also thought too, I write in cursive half of the time. So I wonder if this is going to become like hieroglyphics. Are these kids going to know how to read cursive? I don't know. But I've kept these because I think it is important. So you can look back and say, well, damn, Tashi went through this and this is what she did. And whoa, she did that. Just keep it at 1,000. I think it's important that we do have our own, keep journals, keep some type
That's the truth.
Oh yeah.
something, because I feel like history is changing. Like, and they say, like, I was reading an article from psychologists, like half of the stories that you retold, like 50% of it is made up. Like what
That's
we
true.
think we remember is not even like what actually happened. So
Right.
it's just interesting that you.
And then it's actually is dope that you keep a journal because you're telling the history of you and
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened around you and everything that's to come after you. Like your journal is going to last longer than you. So
Exactly. Yeah.
let's say you do have a child, and let's say 10 generations down the line. Let's go all the way far as 10 generations down the line. You got your great, 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 great grandchild. They're going to be reading a journal about you and the different adversities that you went through. And they're going to look at history because history has its own story. But they're
Mm-hmm.
going to learn in school about the different adversities that I guess Americans went through. And then they're going to go to your journal and be like, man, this is what happened 10 generations ago with my greatest grandmother. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And
Yeah.
that's really a part of that child's history. Can you imagine somebody get a hold to your journal and they say, oh, the woman who wrote this journal is no longer Tashi. It's Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't really talking about her kids. She was talking about the stuff that she saw happening with somebody else's kids. That's literally taking their history from them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's what's going on right now in the Israelite community. People are starting to find their history and learn what it is that's going on. Because if I challenged you right now and I asked you, again, I bring it back to most black people came to America. We started off coming to America through slave ships. What if we go back into the history, like what is black people history? We could talk about Nat Turner, we could talk about Malcolm X, we could talk about Harriet Tubman, we could talk about all these things. These are all things that happened after the boats, after
Yeah.
the ship. What happened before the ships? Nobody knows the story. That's impossible to me. How can you not know what happened before the ships when we know what happened with the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans? How do we know all
Mm-hmm.
of that? But we can't tell what happened in the past 400-500 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It's like, why is it buried so much? Like, why isn't it talked about? What? And I've
that's the
heard
biggest
things.
question.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about like we were sold, like they made a deal, like African kings, and they sold us, like they decided which ones they wanted to sell or whatever. I've heard things like that too. I've had a person on the show. His name is Tay Uhuru, and he's really big on really getting to the bottom of exactly what you're talking about. And he's from Ohio, and he's doing a lot of things with trying to answer those questions and also bridging. He's actually, he's doing what he can in Ohio, but he's also trying to make it so that Black people feel more comfortable with the thought of even moving back to different parts of Africa, um, and starting lives to raise their children there. Is that something like would you want to move your family to Israel or to that region?
Well,
Um,
listen, this is the thing that we also got to understand. Again, you know, if we was to go back to Africa, where do we belong in Africa if that's the case?
yeah,
You see what I'm
no,
saying?
yeah,
Do I belong in Egypt? Do I belong in Nigeria? Do I belong in Ghana? So I mean, do would I like to raise my children in Africa? Yeah, I would see that to be exciting, but I don't know much about Africa. You see what I'm saying? I don't know
yeah,
much about it. So why would I come from a place that, like, I know America, I know what to look for, I know the laws. You see what I'm
hmm
saying?
yeah,
I know
yeah,
that if my kids running around playing around with a toy gun and the police is out and it's a hostile situation, I know that my children run the risk of getting hurt. So I teach them to so that they don't have to worry about those risks. If I go
Mm-hmm.
to Africa with my family, not knowing, not knowing what the laws are, or like say we go to Israel, or let's say we go to Pakistan or something like that, right? The women out there are not even allowed to show nothing but their eyeballs. So I go out there with my wife, we hop off the plane, and her eyeballs, nose, and mouth showing. Now they want to take her up to be a criminal. Those are things, those are risks that I don't know and I'm not willing to take at this moment. Now, if I learned a place, yeah, I would love to bring my family to that place. You see what I'm saying? But as it stands right now, this is where I'm at until I can actually find out. where I belong. And that's something that a lot of people have been trying to find out. And the truth about it is, yeah, we did get sold by Africans, but Africans are not Israelites. You see what I'm saying? If you
Oh,
really look
okay.
at if you look at the world map, Israel is not even in Africa. It's actually in Asia. You see what I'm saying? These are continents that these countries are in. Egypt is in Africa, the continent of Africa. Israel is in the continent of Asia. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. Now, see, now that's one thing I can say. Has never been good at was it geography and
Mm-hmm.
memorizing that map and where things are at. Like I'm the person who needs to really have the globe sitting on their desk because
Okay, I understand. I
that is
understand.
not yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm not trying to seem like I don't want it to seem like, oh, they're like this dude a know it all. All I'm saying is these are things that I've had to research for myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's
no.
like I've like you know how when you learn your ABCs you memorize it. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost like a second breath. I've
Yeah.
literally done so much research that it's like almost a second breath. But I still don't. I'm by no means can I say that I got all the answers. Like I'm literally just scratching the surface because the rabbit hole runs very deep. You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
Okay.
saying? And again, like I say, if you ain't never hopped in the rabbit hole, you know what I'm saying, you wouldn't know how deep it is. But the deeper I get into the rabbit hole, that's when you start finding more ridicule, more things that go on. And people just don't want to know sometimes, man. Sometimes it's people get more comfortable knowing that they just know what's going on now. They don't want to see the change. I look at a lot of the black communities now. We say, you know, we don't want to see black on black violence, or we don't want to see police brutality and things like that. We hate to see these things, but what is it going to do to have to change? You see what I'm saying? What do we got to do to
Well,
change that?
yeah, and I had these conversations, especially during the pandemic, especially with all the killing with what these officers were doing. And to me, the most disgusting part about all of this is if you don't agree with cops killing, unarmed black men and women, shame on, in my opinion, shame on black officers. Because to me,
That's right.
I had thought about becoming an officer. Believe it or not, I took the written exam, passed it. The only thing I had next to do was to do my physical, and then go into training. And my grandmother stopped me. She's like, "You're gonna do all that just to get a bullet in your ass?" And I'm like, I didn't think of it that way. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna serve and protect." I was actually thinking about that, but there is no way I can be part of a fraternity, pretty much. And these are what my officers are doing, because if I'm out of uniform, I'm just as susceptible as anybody else to get a bullet in my ass or get
That's
pulled
right.
over and get harassed.
That's
So I
right.
just kind of feel like even if you're not black, if you don't agree with it, everybody needs to just sit down and not go to work until some changes really happen, in my
Yeah, that's
opinion. But
true.
it's like nobody wants to be uncomfortable. I understand you got families, you don't know where your check is going to come from, and hey, I get it. But if you don't stand for something, we're gonna keep falling.
That's
Like
right.
Yeah.
I just I don't understand that. And for me, that's something that I know I can never be an officer, just for that very reason right there, because I'm not helping. I'm that's becoming part of the problem. I don't agree with that. I'm not gonna give you any of my time or energy with that. Um,
Right.
but I don't think all cops are bad. I don't. But I just know, for me as a woman, a person of color, I could not be a part of that organization, for me.
Yeah. Most definitely, and I totally agree. I think that in order for a person to actually step into that realm, they would have to be really willing to either risk it all or lose it all. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Just,
Mm-hmm.
just to make the change, you got to be nearly ready to lose it all. Just stepping in that realm. You
Yeah.
know, I bring it back to, like, I talk to a lot of people and I say, um, history has taught us that the power is in the people.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew how to look out for each other the way we ought to,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
could literally cripple governments without raising a
Oh,
finger.
most definitely.
Yeah,
You
I
see
say
what I'm
all the time,
saying?
even being in real estate, because that's my background with real estate, and
Nice.
I go into to neighborhoods, and I hear people. The bottom line is this: okay, let's say my neighbor, I have a house. I'll give Inglewood for a prime example, because Inglewood is a prime example of gentrification, and
Exactly.
it was so many um older generations that worked hard, grandmas and grandpas who had their houses, they paid them off, and then their family stayed generations in their house. But what happened? They they didn't keep up grandma's house. They didn't, or grandma and grandpa didn't teach about the importance of paying the taxes on the house, things of that nature. They just didn't know. And what makes me angry is that, okay, I have a house, I can really take care of myself, but let's say my neighbor is getting old and they having a hard time keeping up their front lawn. Is it really hard for me just to take my lawnmower over and keep their grass cut too? If we just do little stuff like that, that keeps everybody property value up. Look out for one another. Little stuff like that. Just keeping the curb appeal going. It costs nothing, or it takes nothing to have, my son cutting my yard, go over there and cut Miss Seeley's yard too.
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't cost anything.
Hurt.
Doesn't cost anything for kindness.
And if we all did that, you can keep your neighborhood, you can keep the Hispanic neighborhood and keep those prices. They wouldn't be able to get into your neighborhood. Or we were honest, like, okay, the house is paid off, but the taxes is $5,000. How are we gonna make it? If you're honest about it, we can throw. They used to have rent parties back in the day. Tax parties. Like, if we all just take care of each other, we won't have these issues. But I don't know what it is that happened. They just really divided us so bad that everybody's just trying to make it out themselves, and we're not moving as a unit. And I just wish we moved as a unit a little better.
That's one of the big things with the Israelite community. Like, a lot of the people who are, I guess, woke, that's what we call it. A lot of the people that's woke, we really try to, all right, so we try to help each other out. We work towards community building and things of that nature. I don't even have to know you. You could be somebody, like I say, I don't even know these brothers that's out in Texas, but I'm going out there to go support them. They've come out to Illinois to come support me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just because we know that we are Israelites. Just off the strength of that, we're moving, right?
Yeah.
And if, let's just say, if there was a case where we came up with our own community, whether it was in Africa or in America, let's work together to do what we got to do to make sure our community stands strong. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the Israelites are doing right now with each other. But we also look at things in history that has occurred for people who have done things. Like, a lot of people don't know about Black Wall Street, and Black Wall Street was a very lucrative community, thriving, very thriving. So now here it is. You got people that's doing exactly like you said. This person can't cut their lawn. All right, I'm gonna cut their lawn. Yep. Nobody's going hungry. Nobody's going with their bills not paid and things like that. All right, so now what happens? You got somebody hating, right? They say, well, since they didn't destroy it themselves, we're gonna do everything in our power to destroy it for them. So what we're trying to do now is just try to find a way to circumvent them things from happening. See what I'm saying?
We have to have a non-defeatist. Okay, we gonna build back bigger and better. That's almost like the story of Marshall Field, because in the Great Chicago Fire, all that crap burnt down. Marshall Field said, okay, I'm about to build it again in this same spot.
Right.
That's what Marshall Field did. And I guess we have to have that same. And see, like, I went down the rabbit hole of studying the 1% of the 1%. And I wanted to figure out what is the mentality? Because I knew it was a mentality that made the difference of, because the 1% of the 1% comes from all different walks of life. So I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out, how do you create generational wealth? What is it? Like, how do you do that? So traveling down that rabbit hole led me to become woke, and which led me on some other things, because the rabbit hole has a lot of tunnels and can go a lot of places. I haven't been down the one that's right. I was trying to figure out the money portion of things. So I feel like I got a great grasp on that, but it's not worth me knowing all this and not have to turn around and try to, I got to use it. And so I definitely, learned a lot of things, and I pumped the brakes. Now I got to turn around. I got to look out for my people too. But
that's right.
I really enjoyed this conversation. And
great.
And can you let us know? There's one more question before I let you go. I want to know, how did you come up with the name? T1, the Lone Wolf. Like, where's that name? How did you come up with that?
All right, so funny thing, my name is Tony, and a lot of people call me Tone. So T and the number one actually means tone. So Tone, which is one, that's tone. And the reason why I call myself the lone wolf is because, me coming from being a worldly person, someone who was, I used to be a hustler and things like that, grew up on the south side of Chicago in the projects, things like that. Like you said, mentalities. There were mentalities that I ended up gaining. But a lot of times, um, because I wasn't co-signing with the BS, I'm gonna just put it like that. It left me in a position where I was different from a lot of people. Um, I grew up in a place where everybody did rap. I'm a lyricist. You see what I'm saying? That put me in a position where I was kind of like alone. Then when I came into this truth, of knowing who I am, I had a lot of family members who turned their back on me, a lot of people who were my friends, and it was like, you already, wasn't riding with us on this. Now you done went completely off to the deep end. So I ended up becoming the lone wolf. So I call myself T1 the lone wolf. And I think it helps me to cope better with knowing that, when you're a person that's in a position that, like, we always talk about you got to find your own lane, right? And that's just the people nowadays. They always say you got to find your own lane, find your own lane. I ended up finding my own lane. And a lot of times when you in your own lane, you're not sharing because it's your own lane. See what I'm saying? Now you may have a lane right next to you. You might be able to do the walk with somebody, but they still in their own lane. You in your own lane. So, me coming to that realization, I'm toned alone or T1 the lone wolf for sure.
All right, and let everyone know where can they check you out. Where can we find your music?
Oh man, all right. So I'm on all platforms. I actually got an album coming out called The Kingdom Comes. That one's gonna be lit. One of my newer albums that's coming out. But you can catch me on SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, almost all platforms. You can catch me on Facebook. Is T1 the French Gang Blue Ribbon Army equals T1 the Lone Wolf. That's FGBRA equals sign T the number one DA Lone Wolf. That's LONEWOLF. And then for my Instagram and my Twitter and also my TikTok, T the number one DALONEWOLF.
All right. Well, we definitely check you out. I'm definitely going to be in Fort Worth. I'm dead serious. So you said it's in June, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's June 16th.
June 16th.
Yeah.
I am coming up. I will be about that life. I'll be out there supporting. I love music, so I'm super excited about that.
And July 3rd, I'll be out here, so I'm gonna catch him out there.
Oh yeah, July 3rd in Chicago.
I really appreciate the love, man. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, when Chief, if you come out on July 3rd, I most definitely would love to do another interview with you out there at the event.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
most definitely. I know it'll be a lot of other artists that'll love to do the interview. Same thing for you, Tashi. If you come out there to Fort Worth, Texas, I'm pretty sure that everybody would love to hop on your podcast, man, and do these interviews, man. This is what we want to do, man. We want to get people to understand who we are and what we're about. It's a lot of people that's putting rumors out there, and it's a lot of speculation and a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Propaganda and stereotypes. Yes. So it's like it's better to hear from the horse's mouth, and what better way than to come pop up at an event and see what they're doing for yourself.
I'm going to. I'm definitely going to do it because I did not know enough about the Israelites. I don't know why I thought it was they point out to be an extreme group, extremists and things of that nature. None of what we discussed today sounded anything like that. So I definitely am going to do more research on myself, for my own. I need to learn more. Absolutely. So I'm glad you gave us some insights, and definitely come back and invite your friends. I want everybody to come on. And
this show was lit, Tashi, Chief. I ain't even gonna lie, this show was lit. I enjoyed myself. Like I felt like
we enjoyed you having you, man.
Oh man, it was dope. I would love to come back on. I'm gonna tell everybody about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, most definitely. I hope y'all have me on the show again.
Oh, absolutely, we will. And you know what, everybody, this week, this is a great show. Definitely check out T1 DeLone with, you know, Chicago in July, Dallas, Fort Worth area. Y'all tune in June, right? June.
That's
So,
right, in June. Yep.
And
all right, y'all. Oh yeah,
before we
before we
go,
go.
can I leave it out with a quote?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
The lesson you struggle with will repeat itself until you learn from it. Let that sink in. Just certain quotes always hit me, and I was like, people got to hear this one. Just let
Say
that
it again
sink in.
one more time for me.
The lesson you struggle with will repeat itself until you learn from it.
That's
Absolutely.
dope.
I like that. Well, y'all heard it. Let that sink in. Think about what Chief just said, and we're gonna see y'all next week. I want everyone to have a great week, be prosperous, and do good things, and keep the good vibes flowing. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and I will see y'all next week. Peace.
See y'all.
Peace.